What's going on, ladies?
Good morning, Marcus Allen. You have the best view of this TV screen over there. So, welcome to Extra Shot.
I'm so thrilled. It's rare that I get called up. I feel like the little kids that finally get invited to the big kids table at Thanksgiving.
You've been in Hawaii, living your best life, growing the best mustache beard combo.
Can I tell you, I'm loving the 5 o'clock shadow on you.
Really?
I say keep it. I know we're going to do a poll.
Than 5 o'clock.
Anything to see less me is helpful.
Oh,
so this helps.
No,
How do you feel about it?
My kids, and don't ask me where they get the words, but my kids say, "You look like a hobo, Dad."
Oh.
Really? What do you know of 1930s indigent people?
Hobo.
Hobo. I think it is. May I say this? I think it's sexy.
Yeah. I find it endearing.
I'll take that. How to respond.
I know. He's like, what is that word?
That's not really sinking in that
Sexy.
well. I don't know if that works.
Does that make you uncomfortable?
If that's the case, I'm not sure it's sending the right message. Walt Grace said George Michael, which is, it's flattering. I mean, I'd love to look as good as that guy did in his heyday.
I say Drake.
We've clearly
Drake?
gone off the rails.
Drake.
All right.
I like it. Keep it.
All right.
We're going to post a poll.
Thank you.
Let us know, folks.
Digital
What do you
department. Sammy Gallegos, do we have the poll up yet?
think? No.
Okay, not yet. She's
Yeah,
like,
we'll get
no,
it
we
up.
don't know what you're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
so we had
right.
we had said in our show that we would put a poll up asking you, do you think that we should keep or let go of Marcus Allen's beard and mustache? So we will post that, and we will get this poll going.
I've made some bad choices along the way. I like having this kind of guidance.
Okay,
So
good.
thank you.
We'll believe whatever we hear on the internet in this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this headline, we're going to get right into our topics for the day. I'm hearing some popping on a mic.
Little
Is that
hair.
me?
Hairage.
Little hairs?
There you go.
Goodness gracious. And then should I cut my hair? That's the next question. Okay.
Cut it to mic level.
Mic level, exactly. A Google engineer has said something that is causing people to talk on social media.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the diversity department coming back with now?
Sure. So this was a memo that actually went out internally, so just to Google employees, but it did get leaked and eventually shared with the public. And now the higher ups at Google are making a statement to respond to basically what this was. So it was a 10-page Google Doc document, and basically it was somebody who works within the engineering department who said that women do not succeed in Silicon Valley due to biological differences, saying it advanced incorrect assumptions on gender is what the response to Google has said. So let's go back a little. So the person who wrote the document argues that the representation gap between men and women in software engineering is the case because of biological differences between the two sexes. And it also said that Google should not offer programs for underrepresented racial or gender minorities. So basically saying, yes, this is the case, according to this person, and we should not hire these people because of it, because of our biological differences.
It's like a 3,000-word manifesto.
3,300.
Do we know, is this from some credible, some nut job employee or someone of a ranking officer?
I mean, it was good enough now for the higher-ups at Google to respond and to basically say, okay, this is not in our core values, this is not what we believe. So clearly it went around to enough people that Google felt like they needed to make a response about it. So what position in engineering this person has, I'm not entirely sure, but the higher ups at Google are now saying this does not have anything to do with who we are at all. There's been a heated debate within the company, and they say that this is just completely irrational. They say that this is not something that they're going to be behind and not something the company endorses, promotes, or encourages. So now there's this big talk, though, this big conversation happening about women in the technological field, especially women we have Silicon Valley, very, very close to us here in Sacramento, just to our west.
Sure.
And a lot of people are saying, hey, maybe women do take some time off from maternity leave. Maybe women do have other things going on in their lives that men will never have to go through. Does that make them any less capable of doing the job?
Of course
I
not.
don't think so.
I'm surprised in 2017 we're still here, right? People, I think there's that stigma around feminism or the word still. That means that, oh, if you're a feminist, you mean that women are better than men, when really what that means to be a feminist is to believe in equal rights for men and women. And in this case, I just feel like for someone, especially a man, to make this sort of statement, I mean, is he a scientist that studies this? Like, what gives him the audacity to say something like that as an engineer in Silicon Valley? And then also, what does that do to company culture?
Yeah.
You talk about that. There's someone in the building who doesn't think, if I'm a female who works in Silicon Valley, there's someone in the building who doesn't believe I should work here. That's discrimination. So I can see, I'm glad that the diversity exec came out and says you have to. At that point, I think when something's going around circulating like that, whether it's true or not scientifically, whatever is being said is causing people to talk.
And so the woman who came out and spoke is Danielle Brown, and she is the Vice President of Diversity and Integrity and Governance, and she just started a few weeks ago, so she probably felt like she needs to hit the ground running now and set a precedent. But what she did say is that within the company of Google, she says it is a work culture dominated by white men. It's hard and often uncomfortable, but she says that Google's doing its part to take a stand on these issues, like the technological, I guess, just, you know, workforce in general is something more men become, I guess, involved in, more so than women.
And something else that was in that article that was interesting is they say, okay, we always pose the question, whether it be in film, television, Silicon Valley, talk about tech world. We always ask, why aren't there enough women? But we never sit back, or at least most of us don't ask, but why are there so many men? And when you sit back and ask that question, it's like, why are there so many men? Why is it so hard for females to get in? I mean, Mark, you're here and you have more of the expertise when it comes to movies and film and TV. And we always talk about how it's the people behind the scenes who are hiring for these women, female roles, and making sure that there's diversity, but it starts at the hiring level. So when you're talking to this woman, the VP of diversity, she can only say so much. It's the people who are hiring that are making these decisions to hire men who are inclusive and hire women to create that inclusivity.
And what's odd is that you would think in the technology environment, and especially in Northern California, that we would see more progression. We would see a more progressive culture with more women encouraged and more women on top. But in fact, with this becoming more and more transparent, we're finding that no, in technology, the glass ceiling has not been shattered. That in fact, it's probably one of the worst environments possible for women to achieve.
And the question was asked, why do you think it is that women aren't as active in this workforce? And Brown said, we always ask why we don't see women at the top in leadership positions, but we never ask why we see so many men. They go on to say, tech and leadership are stressful. So if you made them less stressful, maybe that would be a key factor. She goes on to say that the positions often require long, stressful hours that may not be worth it if you want a balanced and fulfilling life. And I think it really does go back to companies being able to offer a work-life balance. We're going to talk next about unlimited vacations and what is your company doing to not only establish that your career life is going to be successful, but also that you can have the balance at home. And do they care? Do they care that you have a life outside of work? Do they want you to live to work? And so for the people who choose to work to live, this could be a really stressful environment for them. Some of those technology companies who are always fighting to be the next best thing, and they're working against the stock market every day. I mean, it's a high-stress job, not to say that women cannot handle it, but people in general, if you want more of the work-life balance, can you get that in the technology industry as well?
And what's odd is that we're talking about industries, you look at Google and their culture on campus. They have on-site daycare, they have on-site pediatrics, so it's odd that—
food, bar.
Right. No reason to leave. You would think women would be more encouraged than ever.
Right.
And I think it's unfair for him to say that women feel like they need more of this work-life balance. I know a lot of men in my life, you know, as a millennial, on the older end of the millennial spectrum, but who want families just as bad as the females now. And so you talk about gender roles, the reversal of those roles, at least how society has deemed them. You see a lot more, you hear about a lot of men, especially you talk about it in the city, say in San Francisco, a lot of male chefs, when usually it's like in society over the years, it's been the females who are cooking at home. Like now, I'll talk about my home. I come home from work, I have a weird schedule, but I go to the gym, I come home, and my husband Caesar has dinner ready. And
Can you teach my husband?
and my part of the deal is to do all of the cleaning. But it's this like very 50-50 relationship, partnership, because he knows that I'm a working woman. Even till the day I die, I will always want to work. You know, I don't have kids yet, so I don't know. But it takes the man to appreciate that, not to feel intimidated by that, and instead embrace it and know that it's a good representation for our future family, to know that both parties want to work. But go ahead.
Are you worried at all that this starts at a much earlier age, that it has to do with a bigger scope? Monster.com did a survey about a year ago, surveying children between 4 and 11 years of age, asking them in age-appropriate ways, who do you think is better at technology, men or women? Only 4% responded that they thought women would be better at technology.
Really?
even that younger demo.
And you know, as a father of a daughter, we've always encouraged my daughter, you do whatever you want in life. Don't let gender hold you back.
And I'm seeing,
do you see Glenn?
Yeah, Glenn McBurney, who says whoever wrote that memo for Google should be flogged. This kind of thing really bugs me, being a father of a 16-year-old daughter.
Yep.
So he feels the same way. And then also Christian Cavallo's comment, hi Christian, thanks for being with us today, says, I don't agree with the comments about biological differences and how they make one better than the other. However, I do agree that there should not be any special programs to hire more of one gender or ethnicity, hire based solely on merit, not on diversity. So I see that. I see exactly where you're coming from in that, Christian, that if on paper, if your skill set is one way, shouldn't that mean that you get the job? Sure. But I think oftentimes an entire culture can be overlooked if, you know, we're not quick to say, hey, this is open to every and anybody. Even if you're not seeing yourself represented in a certain company, they want you to know that that's an option and that that is something that they are encouraging. And so sometimes I think they push the diversity envelope because they want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be represented, even if you don't see yourself in that moment being represented.
Sure.
Do you mean that it's important to have diversity because people need to see visually different colored skin, people need to see visually male, female counterparts?
Well, I think part of that, yes, and it's also about being socially aware once you get to that step, because I think that having different types of cultures in the workplace, you may not know the difference between, you know, your lifestyle and someone else's if you're never exposed to it. And I think the creative energy between, especially with these tech companies, being able to have people from all different backgrounds, they're all going to bring something different and of equal importance to the table. So I do think that diversity needs to be pushed, but I also understand making sure that everybody who is hired has the skill set appropriate for the job is also very important.
I think there's something to say too about, I mean, you talk about movies too, and when you want to say, oh, should there be male, female categories, that same sort of thing, like shouldn't they all be clumped together? Because if we want equality in this world, shouldn't people be treated equally in all ways, shapes, and forms? So there's that argument, like, okay, well, females want to be treated equal, yet they want their own category. Some will argue they need their own category because to go up against a male isn't necessarily fair in the world of film. Would you see that same sort of conversation happening?
Well, I know back in the day, especially behind the camera, you had this good old boys, Cecil B. DeMille, Warner Brothers Club mentality, and it was hard for women to get ahead. But now, celebrate the year 2017, you're going to see more Academy Award nominated and winning directors and producers this year that are women than ever before.
That are women. All right, well, let's continue this conversation about the workplace. So we came